What's up guys, welcome back to another Vinland Saga video. Today I'm going over the Baltic Sea War arc or the Eastern Exhibition arc, whatever you want to call it, talking about my thoughts on it and everything great about it. If you're new here and enjoy Vinland Saga content, make sure to subscribe and check out my other videos and stay tuned for many more to come. So as a whole, this arc is the longest arc that we've had thus far in the story, with it being from chapter 100 to 165. It had a lot of content to cover and a lot of greatness. In my opinion, as a whole, I don't think it was as strong in some parts as the slave arc, the previous arc was as a whole very stable and very strong throughout, with this arc having some low points, also having some very high greatness. But as a whole, this arc was top tier, fantastic quality stuff. So the arcs pretty much started off with Thorfinn returning home to his mother and sister after like 20 years or something, however long it's been, like 17 years, been so many years since he's seen his mum and sister. This involved him pretty much telling them everything that's happened to him, leaving out no details, and how he went down the road of revenge, and then telling them about his plan to go to Vinland and start up pretty much a new peaceful world in the land of Vinland. This is where we get some stuff where he goes to the Halfdan guy, the guy with the chain that we saw at the start of Vinland Saga, where Thors had to talk down from having the slave and so on. So you go to him as the richest person in the area to get funding to go to Vinland and then start setting up land to prosper from. And this is where we have the whole thing with his son Sigurd and his soon-to-be wife during this part, Gudrid. At some point, Gudrid ends up joining, I want to say, crew the ship with them going to Vinland, but before that they need to go to pretty much the eastern part, or it's where the Eastern Exhibition parts, to look for men to join them and look for resources so they can actually go. And then on the way there, this is where they get a new character that also joins along their crew. I'm just going to say crew for the main crew people that are going to Vinland, known as Hild. Hild was someone who met Thorfinn when he was with Askeladd, and Hild watched her father and her rest of her family get killed by Thorfinn. And then when Thorfinn's adult comes back, she has the same kind of vengeance mindset that Thorfinn had for Askeladd, and then Thorfinn and other people alongside him able to get her to stop killing Thorfinn, to see that he's changed. And it seems like pretty much an exact contrast to how Thorfinn was with Askeladd, with Hild being around this crew to eventually kill Thorfinn. So that's the issue there, and she's the crossbow wielding Chad. And then later on we get pretty much the whole war stuff with our boy, the return of the Chad Thorkel, this being absolute Chad, leading like both sides of an army at stages, becoming my favorite character thanks to this arc. So pretty much during this, the main Viking crew, the Jomsmurs or whatever they're called, the Troll of Jom, whatever you want to call the main Viking group that Floki was in charge of, there's a whole thing where they're trying to work out who their new leader's going to be. This is probably my favorite aspect of the whole arc, is the pretty much trying to see who can become the new leader. Floki wants his grandson to be the new leader, and this is where Thorfinn comes in, as his past haunts him again from all his involvement and with his connection to his father, who was a captain of this same Viking group at one stage before he deserted. So you got people wanting Thorfinn to be the leader, but as we know, Thorfinn of course refuses to be any involvement in this, but then people stop him. They threaten to kill everyone, and there's pretty much a war on both sides where Thorkel's leading one side. This is where Thorkel's greatness again. He'll lead one side into a battle, start like wiping out people, and then once he's like winning the battle, he'll switch side and then go wipe out the other side to just continue fighting. Like, how Chad is that? We get a new Chad character that I mentioned in my video, top 6 strongest characters in Vinland Saga that we've seen thus far. If you haven't checked that out, make sure to check that out, where a new character by the name of Garm was introduced as an underling of Floki at first, but we get to see that he's very similar to our boy Thorkel, with him being considered or implied to be his bastard son. Just how much they're alike, probably not related whatsoever, but they're this one for battle, and how they live for battle and fighting alone is how they're contrasting. And Garm going around looking for Thorfinn to fight, taking out leaders of opposition with ease, and then going to fight Thorfinn with Thorfinn, just chilling, hitting those legs, not bothered by this fighting. And then as this war is going on, where pretty much some of Thorfinn's people or part of the crew were captured, such as Gudrid and so were captured by one of the sides in the war, and that's where they need to try and rescue them. That's the whole mission of the arc at one point while the war is going on. And then sometime during this, Thorfinn was told or became aware of how Floki was the one who killed or organized the killing of Thors, his father. And this is where we see probably the biggest rage moment in the series thus far from Thorfinn. Absolute rage Chad moment where he pretty much cuts some of Floki's hand or fingers off with like one slice and just absolutely dominates him. Then before going for the kill, he's able to come to his senses and then break his sword and then just go away. And then we see pretty much Thorkel going in and embodying everyone. And then probably my favorite part in the whole arc, even though what I'm going to talk about soon was pretty great as well, but you know, the war's finished, the fight has gone over. Thorkel has like switched side like 7 times, like an absolute Chad, just killing everyone. And then, you know, Floki has like a trained big bear that he's been like taming over many years to eventually fight as an equal against Thorkel. And then after all this battle, like we have like Thorkel being burnt by like people, his like hair's all messed up, his body all burnt and everything. And he, while everyone else is like resting after the war, Thorkel fights this bear creature thing all night long with him like choking it out at the end and then begging people to keep it so he can have a partner to fight with whenever he wants. That's how like insane Chad like Thorkel is, you know, just after war where he changed side like 20 times, he just, you know, gives out and just chokes out a bear and has a one-on-one bear fight all night. The pure Chad energy coming from Thorkel is just too strong. We also had before this, we had a battle between Thorkel and the character known as Garm that I mentioned before. He's a spear using speedster based fighter, which is said to be a direct counter to Thorkel as he has trouble dealing with fast, small, speed based fighters, and they have a direct 1v1 against each other where it ended up in a draw where neither of them was killed. But in my opinion, as I mentioned in my top 5 strongest video, if the battle went to the death and it wasn't stopped by some of people around watching, I think Thorkel would have won, but as we saw, it was a draw and considered a draw with them both being injured. And while this is happening, Thorkel still went into the war again, and then we had another battle between Garm and Thorfinn where their battle ended up with a direct counter or direct mirroring what happened between Thorfinn and Askeladd, where pretty much Thorfinn enraged Garm so he could, you know, attack him without any real thought of his movements or anything, and then grab his arms, headbutt him and take him out like that. It was kind of funny how he mentioned to Garm that he's not at like high enough level to be on his level and they need to do more training to get to this level. That's why he doesn't use any weapons and so on so. And then after that, now that Floki has been defeated and his grandson is showing that he has no interest in becoming the leader of the Viking group, Thorfinn decides to become the leader of the Viking group. He gets the permission of Thorkel to be part of it and get the blessing of Canute, even though Canute wasn't shown throughout anything during this arc. He got the blessing of that, became the leader of the Viking group, and then disbanded it and stepped down as leader, saying that his Viking group is no more, and then went back on his trip with his, I'm going to say, crew again to go back and find the Vinland and set up the civilization there. And then in the meantime, he ended up marrying Gudrid. And also, I forgot to mention earlier, they ended up finding a baby on a deserted pretty much island that was raided by Vikings near the start of their journey, and that baby has grown up with everyone during this time as well. And that's all pretty much the main aspects of the Baltic Sea War arc that I enjoyed, with mainly being Thorfinn and the Chad of Thorkel. And then after that, we haven't got near the end of that, but in the next arc known as the Vinland arc, where we've only got like 4 or 5 chapters in thus far. So that may be, people saying that could be the last arc in the story, the Vinland arc, but I don't know, we'll see how long it goes for. And stay tuned for more Vinland Saga videos. And that's it, guys. Peace.